eradicated.
A Wholloween season continues here on Who's Views, and JT and the WHOTASTIC panel visit a more recent episode of Doctor Who.
Hello, welcome to Who's Views. Happy Wholloween. Hope you're well. And a huge thank you at the top of the show there to Ted for sending us that video. He's gone trick-or-treating as a Cyberman this evening, and he made that with his dad. Isn't it fantastic? I love that. It's been brilliant. Welcome to the third part of our special Wholloween trilogy here on Who's Views. We've looked at the Pyramids of Mars. We've had a general discussion about horror in Who. And now here we are to talk about Blink. As you can see, I'm joined by Bedouia, by Kirsty, and Mark.
Hi.
And let's say a huge hello to Mark, because Mark is joining us as part of his British tour. Aren't you, Mark? Oh,
Nope, you can't
Well, he is, I can tell you. Well, he gets that sort.
It went so well in rehearsal.
It did. Rehearsal. Yeah, he's actually joining us. He's from Australia, but he's joining us here in where is he? Bedouia, you say it? Llangollen, which has a Doctor Who connection itself. And when he gets it sorted, he'll be able to tell us all about it. I love live things, don't you? I love it. So thanks very much for joining us this evening. You're very welcome. Let us know about your recollections as we review Blink. Oh, goodness me. So where do we start? Well, let's start at the beginning with this, shall we? First broadcast on BBC One on the 9th of June, 2007. Blink, of course, is written by Stephen Moffat. In the, what was this? This was the 2003. So that would have been the third series of Doctor Who after the initial reboot. And it's based on a very short story that he wrote for this, the annual 2006. Published by Panini back then. It has certain things in common with that, but it's not really the same thing. It's not one of these things where they take, straight to screen. And it's also directed, of course, by Hetty MacDonald. Here's a picture of her there. There she is. So, yeah, Blink, everybody. I mean, it's fair to say Blink is an absolute gem. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
For me, yeah, that's that, and then the Family of Blood as well. That's the highlight of season 3 for me. I watched back Blink, and from seeing it as a kid to now seeing it as an adult, there's more I'm seeing from it. But I still remember the initial broadcast in 2007, and for me, that was the first sort of big monsters. I was like, "Oh, this is really creepy. This is what all my family has been talking about how they have these monsters that you can't stop thinking about."
All right, so this is the one that got you behind the sofa. What about you, Bedouia? Were you behind the sofa?
Yeah, I mean, I think personally this is the best trio of episodes since, for me, Curse of Fenric, Survival, and Ghostlight. So Human Nature and Family of Blood into Blink, and I remember would have been later on in 2007. You had those what we call the vanilla discs. So you had the series released on those individual discs, and that green cover, that disc was just perfection. Those three episodes together. I didn't realize until you mentioned it, JT, that it was actually broadcast in June.
Yeah, 9th of June.
Because that seems like the worst time to broadcast this episode, whereas a night like tonight, where it's already dark outside, where I am, it's a bit rainy and drizzly, is perfect for watching Blink.
Yeah.
So, if the fact that it was broadcast on a sunny June evening on BBC One surprised me.
Well, yeah. I mean, I have to say, when I looked up the research for this, I thought, wait, what? It must have been because that's what it was. Mark, can you hear us?
Hello, I can. I had to log out and back in.
Hey.
Oh,
But
welcome.
I'm here. Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm back.
Yeah, I
Must be a Halloween trick.
When did you first see Blink? Where were you in Australia when you first saw it?
Yeah, so when Australia first broadcast it, and then obviously subsequently when I bought the box set, gave it another watch. But it has been a little while since I've seen Blink. But yeah, very memorable episode. The structure and the less Doctor and just how it intertwined. I actually thought it was a good episode.
Well, that's good because that's what we're going to be talking about more. Let's have a look to see everybody that's in there. Jack is wishing us all a happy Halloween. Happy Wholloween to you, my friend. Nice to see you. The Light Dreams is here. Alex here. Blink was so fresh and exciting, even scary at the time. Oh, really? Oh, really? That means he's not as scared as he used to be. Yeah, unless he's having lunch with me. TARDIS Spider. Hello, TARDIS Spider. Nice to see you. I was home alone and for some reason watched this one in the dark.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Why? Why would you do that? I don't know why you would do that. Who else have we got here? We've got Pete Harrington. Hello, Pete. All right, La. He's saying hi, panel. An appropriate picture that he's used there. He says, I've not blinked all day. Garbage is saying, where are you, Garbage? There you are. Sorry, I'm late. YouTube is not showing this stream in my list. Well, let's. What's going on with YouTube then? That's just outrageous, isn't it? But you're not late at all. We're only just starting. So we've got all this going through. So, I mean, let's start with this. Now, this is an incredible story on many levels, which I hope you're all going to be able to talk about here. But considering that the Doctor is hardly in this, isn't it amazing that this is actually one of the best Doctor Who episodes ever?
Well, this is where I have problems with Blink being ranked so highly.
Oh, go on.
You know, when it's in, you know, a DWM kind of poll, it always comes really high. I'm like, it's a show called Doctor Who. You can't have it as the best Doctor Who and the best example of the program when the Doctor's not bloody in it. But in terms of science fiction, in terms of, you know, just good writing and really complicated yet simple to understand plotting over a 45-minute span, it's perfection, to be frank.
Oh, I love that. That's so concise and professional. It really is. That is brilliant. I mean, do you guys agree with that sort of stuff? Or, I mean, you know, because it is. Yeah. It comes across to me, even though I actually agree with what Badri is saying there, but it does come across to me as typical Doctor Who, you know. But it just so happens that somehow magically, the lead character isn't in his own show.
Yeah, I think what Badri said, it's so good, and it's very suspenseful, and he's hardly in it. And yet it's still, like you've already said, it's just ranked. It just doesn't make sense. But, you know, fantastic episode.
I definitely wouldn't rank it like top few for like, sorry to interrupt. I wouldn't rank it like top few for like best Doctor Who, but certainly like a top 10 one. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't think they would be able to pull that off again in Doctor Who or something like a story like that. I don't think they'd ever be able to pull that off again.
It's funny. It came at this weird time where the production schedule was so short. Well, relatively short. They just literally didn't have enough time to shoot 13 episodes in the 9 months or whatever it was that they had. It wasn't something that I noticed so much in the first two series. But obviously when we get to series 4, you've got Midnight and Turn Left. So you've got that splitting of your two characters. So it's an ingenious solution to a problem that should never have existed, in that you should have given more time for them to film these episodes. But, you know, I think this is the Sally Sparrow show, and it's amazing. You know, Kerry Mulligan is astonishing. The fact that Doctor Who got Kerry Mulligan to be in this little BBC TV show for a Saturday night, you know, considering what she's got on to do since.
Oh, she's amazing. Let's talk about this, because this is Carey Mulligan's. I mean, she carries this beautifully, and her performance is wonderful because she's so calm, in control, considered. And as you say, Bidwell, she's gone on to an amazing career. She's a Hollywood star. Of the for the old caliber.
Oscar nominated as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, weren't we so lucky to get her? And she carries this really well thought out script and really honed script to perfection, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there are certain scenes in this where, I mean, oh goodness, what can you say about Carey Mulligan? She is just absolutely so in control. Mark, when you first saw this and you saw that this was going to be based around Carey Mulligan, what were you feeling?
I thought it was, I think the principle of it was really great. As I said, I think it's to repeat it, this sort of format again, might not get the same result. I think it was just that great idea of the search that she went under, and she goes into the video store, and, the consequence or the step of events afterwards. I thought that was really good how they introduced that and just kept that going along the way. Again, whether they could do that again as it was brought up before, but I think the principle of it and the idea of it was really great.
Yeah. I'm not sure they could do it again, because this was... It's such a talented script with a talented lead, and all the characters seem to... I mean, you seem to feel the presence of the Doctor, even though he's not on screen all the time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Duck.
Yeah.
Duck. Really duck.
I think the drama is the fact that the Doctor is out of the situation, and that's what, so used to that the Doctor's there to solve everything and to come up with a plan and all that sort of thing, and he's not there. And so the only version of this kind of storytelling before was Mission to the Unknown back in the 60s, where the regular cast just weren't in it for a week to give them a break and to set up a story that followed after the Mythmakers. But I don't think you could get away with this sort of thing now, because everyone expects to see your leading the show.
Yeah, it's true. We've got some of the in the chat here. We've got Garbage saying, excuse me, when this episode finished, I said to my friend, not only is this the best Doctor Who episode I've ever seen, it's one of the best TV programs I've ever seen, which is fair enough, isn't it? That's great. Pete's saying here, it's meant to be a light show as episodes before, but it just so works. Alec is saying, always said Moffat was a one-hit wonder, and Blink was definitely the hit. The design of the Weeping Angel is one of the show's all-time great designs, but they should only have been used once. Oh, we'll come to that in a second. Garbage is saying here he agrees. Just the one episode was enough. Oh, thanks for all your comments. This is brilliant. This is brilliant. He's also saying here, let's not forget about that trailer too. Don't blink. Don't blink. Whatever you do, don't blink. I mean, let's talk about that concept here, everybody, when it comes to the blinking aspect of this show. I mean, that is actually typically Doctor Who in a sense, isn't it? Taking something normal, taking something every day, and saying you can't do it.
Oh yeah,
it's the grandmother's footsteps game, isn't it? When I'm obviously far too young to have played this in the playground, but this idea that one person stands and everyone can move until they turn around and all that sort of thing. So it's just an extension of that concept. But for this, it works beautifully.
Yeah, I think it's also a case that the whole thing about the blinking thing, that these creatures can move so quickly, and it just works so well. I mean, we also find them. Let's the setup of this. I mean, what did you guys think about the setup of this? Here we have a traditional spooky house. A really traditional spooky house that's coming along here, and it's all, I don't know. You get that sort of Scooby-Doo vibe immediately, don't you? You start to get the chills, the Halloween vibe going on here. I mean, were you guys sort of when you were rewatching this, were you suddenly realizing all these elements of good old-fashioned British horror coming in?
Yeah, I just remember being, oh, okay, this is a new episode. What's cracking? And like Carey Mulligan as well. I only realised it was Sally Sparrow until she started doing Hollywood stuff. But yeah, Show my age, sorry. But yeah, seeing it again, I watched it today, and you think, okay, you're going to get something, I bet, as you know, Scooby-Doo, or maybe a horror, just all in a house. You don't, and it just completely throws a tangent, and then you're just gripped from one bit to another. So it does. I do like how it is throwing the different horror elements, because you think you've got a step ahead. You think this is what's going to happen, and then they just throw another element in, and you're like, okay, I'm just going to have to let it just ride and see what happens.
Yeah. And then, of course, as part of this whole haunted house, abandoned house setup here, I mean, this must have been fantastic to be a kid watching this, because suddenly you've got these statues who are beginning to appear in places that they shouldn't do. Statues should be outside of an old house, really. They shouldn't be inside, should they? But here they were, suddenly popping up all over the place. It was just amazing. And Alex was saying there, the design on these things also helped, didn't it, really, to make these things really scary. What were your initial reactions when you first saw the Weeping Angels? Did you realize they were going to be the villains?
I think it sort of unfolded. Like you're looking at everyday objects, and then all of a sudden it changes, and then all of a sudden you have that suspense, and then that big thing is obviously when you see the face change and they're getting closer. And as I said, I think it was just that, like Alex was pointing out before, it was that first initial thing that was one of those good writing episodes where this everyday thing that we see all over the place is in an unusual place, and then all of a sudden you've got that encroachment every time you move, like the kids' playground games in Australia. We played similar sort of thing. I can't remember what it was called now, but you take a few steps and then they turn around and you have to freeze. So,
statues.
Statues. So, I think it was a really cool idea.
Mm.
Yeah, they are a fantastic piece of design, because the concept thinks, well, it's a stone statue, and of course it's not going to move. But then as they start to peel that onion and they start to reveal, first time, what Sally goes back to the house and says, hang on, it's moved. But you're thinking, oh, this is an abandoned house. How can it possibly move? And then you start building up to, oh, when the lights go off, then they can go anywhere. And it's really smart. And I was always fascinated by how they did it practically. And this, I remember the Doctor Who Confidential was not really related too much to Blink. It was David Tennant talking about it, which is a great episode of Confidential, but it's talking to Stephen Moffat and Russell T Davies and Phil Collinson about their memories of growing up with Doctor Who. But what I was fascinated about was how they did the angels. And although there were some static props, a lot of them are, actresses.
Yeah.
And just like you wouldn't believe it, because they just look like stone. It's fantastic.
It really is, and the concept of them. So we've got these lovely pictures of them here with the cast. The concept of them. It's when you really start to get into it, isn't it? When you're watching this, because if you take this one for example here, I mean, bang. The mystery set up, isn't it, through this? Because you do get the feeling they're being watched. These statues are watching the characters. And that brings out that spooky element, doesn't it? Which is very appropriate for the show. It's starting to wear that round. And, it really is just quite, I don't know. The mystery is set up about these creatures as well. You're able to say immediately, right, something's not quite right about these, because they're always looking away, or they've always got hands around, or something like that. They're quite. Ooh. I love that eeriness of them, which is immediately set in.
Yeah, I mean, appropriately, today is Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween. Mike Myers, when he's looming in the distance, that's scary enough. But then when he's bursting through doors, it's terrifying. It's that idea of something watching you, and then it strikes. It's classic horror.
Yeah. Look who's here. Daniel's here. Hi, Daniel. Nice to see you. The angels are such a scary, clever, and innovative concept for a monster. It's like a more deadly version of a staring competition. Yeah, actually, because
Yeah.
think it, yeah, isn't it, Kirsty? Because, think it, yeah, isn't it, Kirsty? Because, if and you stop suddenly, bang, you're gone. Yeah, that's really, really good. That is really, really. Peter Harrington is saying here he misses Easter eggs on DVDs.
Yeah.
I miss DVDs.
Some people would say
Stream
DVDs.
everything.
What are they?
Exactly. Yeah. Pete's also saying here, showroom dummies were never the same after Doctor Who, and that's exactly the same for this story. Because neither were statues, were they? I mean, there must have been kids running around the entire planet.
Well, they teased that at the very end where they're showing all the different statues in Cardiff, which is hilarious. Because on spot where he, it's like, oh, that's on Queen Street. That I know where that is. Okay, but it was the idea that not every statue is a weeping angel, but any statue could be a weeping angel.
Mm-hmm.
As a kid, that's going to be, that's so exciting. It is going back to the 70s where did that shop window dummy just move?
Yeah.
It's that sort of imaginative, potential terror that kids in particular thrive on, and adults we can understand on a different level then as well.
Yeah.
So I'm heading to.
Sorry, Mark.
I was just said I'm heading to Cardiff tomorrow. So should I be worried?
Yes, I think so.
I better watch my back.
Let's talk about some of the other kids, because Lucy Gaskell, who was sort of known at the time as well on various elements of television, she also brings in an amazing performance here, doesn't she? As Kathy Nightingale, who's hey, yes,
Stop saying Hull.
Stop saying Hull. You're right. But what a lovely performance here. And there is a real relationship that she manages to pull off here with Kerry Mulligan, isn't there? There's a real bond. I mean, at one point you mentioned that they could actually be an ITV drama series, the two of them. They absolutely could.
Yeah.
They'll never ever get because of those blooming angels.
Yeah. I mean, they only have 3 scenes together, and yet you immediately think, oh, yeah, they're clearly friends, and get it straight away.
Yeah. The fact that Sally can let herself into the house in the middle of the day,
that sisterly kind of best friend-esque, yeah.
Yeah.
That you just let yourself in.
Yeah. Start making a cup of tea and say, "Get out of bed. I need to talk to you. I've got an emergency." I love that. But Kathy, let's talk about this part of the script, because she is, of course, poor old Kathy. She's integral to solving part of whom the angels are, because we all know poor old Kathy here. Well, she gets nabbed, doesn't she? Zapped, and ends up in Hull.
Hull.
But that's
1920 Hull.
Well, yeah. But if it hadn't been for that character being used that way, it could have taken a little bit longer to actually find out what happens to you, that you get sent back in time. And that was a refreshing change at the time, wasn't it? You don't get killed, you just get zapped back in time.
Yeah, it establishes that the angels are dangerous. Yeah, it doesn't make sense as to how's she gone back in time, but you get that. Oh, these things are dangerous; they're not just statues.
TARDIS Spider here is saying it's an imaginative terror, a great thought, and you're right. You're right, aren't you? Because that's the thing that gets us all. If it is more in the imagination, our imagination plays it more powerfully. I think, I like that. That's brilliant. That's fantastic. You're going to say something?
I was when I was watching it again, I was just thinking, what would be worse than just dying or being zapped and you're dead, and knowing that your loved ones are still in the present day, but you've got to live through it? And what is the worst situation? Do you prefer just to die, or live through and then eventually die with your loved ones again and not live the life with them?
Spookily, it's a question that's asked later on as well in another Stephen Moffat script with the angels, isn't it? When Amy and Rory get transported back in time there. So it's a question that's always asked, but never quite answered from the character's point of view in that sense. But obviously, actually, that's not right, is it? Because Kathy does live her life, and she lives it well, and she seems to have a wonderful time. And this is where you've got all this wonderful wonderful stuff coming through because she leaves a note, doesn't she? She leaves a note for Sally, which arrives at that particular moment where she gets zapped. I mean, I just thought, again, this is Doctor Who, for once, actually using the time travel element because, and using it well. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not great that she marries the first guy she meets, but,
Isn't that how it always happens?
Right, and this is a lovely scene that's played here as well. So, here we've got this gentleman here, and this is Richard Cant, who's coming to play Malcolm Wainwright. Now, for those of you who don't know, Richard Cant is the son of Brian Cant, who was a legend for my generation when it came to television, children's television, because he was on Playaway, he was on Play School, All Star Record Breakers, just an absolute legend for all of us. So, when you see his son crop up in Doctor Who, you get a little bit like, oh, look at that, that's great. And it's just lovely to see him.
Brian Cant, exterminated by a Dalek.
Yep, there's the link there.
Right, yeah, we still got that clip. It's great.
At this point, guys, when you're watching Blink, are you beginning to realise what's happening with this? Is it giving you the shivers still?
Oh yeah.
I think the thought that if one of these things gets close enough to you, your life as you know it stops to exist, and you then are in a strange place, and everyone you knew and loved is gone. And which is what she did, and had to start her life all over again. Hence, writing a letter knowing it was going to happen. It's just an interesting thing, and for kids at the time, I guess, a really scary thing. Obviously, I wasn't a kid when I saw it the first time round, but for a lot of younger viewers, that'd be all quite a daunting thing to watch and very scary for them.
Was that your experience, Kirsty?
Yep.
Yep, absolutely. Don't go anywhere near me.
No.
Yeah. It was nice to see it as an adult again. It's still brought back those kind of memories. Going, yeah.
Good. That's what you should get from a Doctor Who episode. Because for those of us of a certain age now, we still get that from seeing the Zygons or earlier ones. So if you're getting that from seeing the introduction of the Angels, that's exactly what it should do. It's brilliant.
Yeah. There's so much poignancy because you have Sally then goes and visits the grave of the friend that she's only just lost.
Yeah.
Having lived, as long as she did. And then when we get on to Billy Shipton, that's, the scene with old Billy is really heartbreaking. It's, there's so much, like the whole idea of going back in time and you think, at least I get to live a life. Not quite how I planned it, but you get, still get something out of it. But there's still that end point that's, really horrible.
Yeah.
Life is short and you are hot.
Sorry, Kirsty?
Life is short and you are hot.
Yeah, we'll come to him in a minute. TARDIS Spider is saying, okay, Hull. I know it's a real place, but what's wrong with Hull? Nothing at all is wrong with Hull. In the context of the story, I think because she sort of comes from that part of the world anyway, judging by her accent, from the Yorkshire area, I think she's 1 minute she's in London, she can't possibly be in Hull the second after, And what did she do with her clothes? I want to know. Anachronistic. What did she do with those? Pete's saying here, zapped and good night, sweetheart, so to say. And Garbage is telling us that the note reminds him of Back to the Future when Marty got the note from the doc. Yeah.
It's very reminiscent. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It really is. And you had seen that somewhere before, and it is Back to the Future, isn't it?
Yeah, because when they and I have watched that a couple of times, but essentially once the zapped and comes down, and then there's a guy who turns up in a car in the middle of the rain with a letter addressed to Marty McFly. So there's some parallels that ring through with that.
Yeah, and you just mentioned them, Mark, the rain, because believe it or not, the rain is actually very important to the story, isn't it? At this point, because it does start to rain, and Sally gets caught in it.
Yep.
And you wouldn't think that rain can play such an important role in a story because it comes out in that speech. But you were just going to be telling us there about Billy. So she meets Billy, doesn't she?
And he says, old Billy says, it was raining when we first met, and she says it's the same rain, and it's just something so heartbreaking about just a relatively simple line like that.
It's beautiful.
Such a soft, delicate scene.
Yeah. It really, and it's played beautifully, isn't it? Because you've got this. I mean, you just know, don't you, that when they meet, Billy and our heroine here, our hero Sally, they are gonna get together. There is an instant attraction there, and it's played wonderfully, isn't it, with these two? You know, it's definitely there. There's a lovely flirtatious manner towards the two of them. And you just think, oh, there's a little bit of niceness coming in here. She even gets her name wrong, doesn't she? She calls herself Sally Shipton, which is just so funny. And I know, and you can see why she gets embarrassed by that. She's just like, oh my God, don't look at me. And she never sees him again until 10 minutes later when he's an old man.
The carrot was dangled and taken away.
Yeah, exactly, Mark. It's a very bittersweet moment. So for him, it's been a couple of decades. And for her, it's been 5 or 10 minutes. I mean, it just brings home this sort of beautiful aspect of this script here. He was robbed of that opportunity to get to know her, and so was she. And it's heartbreaking and it's magical. And the rain is so important, isn't it? It's just,
yeah,
pulls on the
like,
heartstrings.
It does.
Yeah, exactly. It's like every romantic breakup you've ever been through, because you start mourning the possibility that relationship had offered. Billy goes back in time and he's lost the opportunity to have the relationship that he would have wanted with Sally, or as you said, JT, getting to know her. There's so many levels to this. It's so smart. Yeah,
it's amazing as well that Stephen Moffat himself has said this was, he doesn't really remember writing this because it's the quote unquote tiniest sliver of his writing career. I mean, I wish I could write in a sense like that and do a gem like this and not remember doing it.
It's just a...
I know, yeah. That's what he's done. What? Did I write that? I mean, that's great.
As I pick up my next Hugo Award, yeah.
Garbage himself is going to be agreeing with Billy here with those immortal lines, which you probably wouldn't get in a drama now. She looks so hot when wet. Sorry, but yeah, she's gorgeous anyway. That woman, even when she's got a haircut. Absolutely stunning. Pete Harrington here is saying that rain is wonderful. Some of the shots, the faces on the glass, the tears almost. Oh, absolutely marvelous. Gary's joining us. Hello, Gary. Rain in England. Blimey, that's amazing.
Yes, and I've experienced a lot of it in the last couple of days.
Yeah. You see, Mark has never seen rain like he's got here. Garbage is saying only rains when we go out. And Daniel is replying there, Hull is okay. You can get over to Holland very easily on a ferry from Hull.
I mean, every time I hear Hull, I'm thinking of Del Boy and Rodney in the Only Fools and Horses special. I've been to Hull and back.
To Hull and back, yes.
Yeah. It's just a great line.
That's a classic one, that is. It really is classic. So we're at the point in the story now where, of course, poor old Billy's been sent back here, and this is where the Doctor and Martha come in, and this is where it's all set up, and the Doctor does this wonderful, very quick explanation. This is where we suddenly realise really what is actually happening, and this is where this whole thing, which is now called timey-wimey, comes in.
Yeah.
But it does work. Bedouin knows I can't stand that phrase. But, it does work, doesn't it? This whole concept does. So, it's a case of like poor old Billy has to take the long road round. Luckily, though, Stephen Moffat gives him a fabulous life. And with his knowledge of the future, the Doctor's able to manipulate where Billy goes. So we can start getting into this whole thing of the electronic process, the VHSs, the DVDs. And I don't know about you guys, but as a geek, I thought this was genius using the DVDs with this way. I just thought, that is brilliant. I absolutely love that because we would get this. And you would actually get a whole load of people sitting round, like we're doing now, discussing the merits of a DVD.
And Easter eggs.
Yeah, the Easter eggs, Mark.
Most people eat them these days.
This is a nod to all of us as geeks, isn't it?
Well, the classic Doctor Who DVD range is probably the only thing I've ever found that has Easter eggs on. I'm sure loads of my DVD shelves are full of Easter eggs. The Doctor Who ones are the only ones I worried about.
Yeah.
So very much tapping into, hi, you're a classic Doctor Who fan. You know about Easter eggs. Yeah, of course you do. So I'm going to put them into a story.
And it was fun finding those Easter eggs too, wasn't it?
It is. This was the first time I understood what an Easter egg was. The first time I watched it.
Oh, so this was your introduction to these hidden extras.
Yeah.
oh, Doctor Who is responsible for many things in its day.
Yeah.
The concept of Easter eggs, Mark. It's
Yeah, and
brilliant.
including timey-wimey.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I know you hate it, JT, but in terms of trying to explain that it's not one bit to the other, it's not a straight line. There's all different variations
It's
around
lovely shorthand, isn't it?
It's a simple, catchy phrase that's been grotesquely overused.
That's what gets me about it. It's you can now even get it on a blooming t-shirt. You know, you can even get the angels have got the blue box or whatever it is now on a t-shirt, can't you? I'm surprised Bedweer hasn't actually got it.
I haven't got that one.
So I mean, this is the great thing about this. So this is where it gets a little bit magical in the sense for Doctor Who as well, because the whole bit where the Doctor has recorded these extras, these DVD Easter eggs, and that they're being analysed by quote unquote the guys on the internet. It really is just absolutely wonderful when it all pieces together fantastically, and quite by accident, really. Sally starts to answer him, and I just think I don't know what you guys think, so please tell me. Brilliant scene.
I think the principle of how it all started in the video store, you know, when he says, I've been analysing this code, and then he's going through and he's reading all those phrases out. And at that stage, it doesn't make sense. But then all of a sudden, when you get into that conversation piece where they're there and then she starts speaking and then she gets the response and it's like, hang on a minute. And then they're comparing that script that he starts doing and it all starts to unfold. It's very clever. It's very, very clever.
Yeah. You guys agree with that?
Yeah. I just miss video stores as well.
Yeah. I'll tell you one person who doesn't miss the shop. It's Freema, because of course Martha has to work in a shop apparently. Is it ever established how long they're actually there?
No, not really. No.
No.
It's a timey-wimey thing, JT.
Thank you, Mark. It would be nice to know how long they were there until the TARDIS comes back for them, which we'll come to, of course. But how long does she have to work in a shop?
I don't know.
It's things like this that worry me. Does anybody know in the chat? Is it established anywhere? I don't know. We've also got here Time Lord 2023 is joining us. Hello there. Happy Halloween, Whovians. Blink is a masterpiece. I'm currently watching it now. Ooh!
Perfect watching for Halloween.
Absolutely. And that's why we're doing it tonight, isn't it? It's absolutely fantastic.
No, I mean, the DVD thing, it's the great thing of she gets the list and she looks at the list and like, hang on, these are the DVDs that I own. And it's that connection of, you only have 17 DVDs?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's little bits like that. And yeah.
Do you not think, Bedweer, that's the response us blokes would give, though? You've got how many DVDs, you weirdo?
Oh, yeah.
You would turn around to one of the guys. No disrespect, Kirsty, but you would say you've only got 17.
Exactly. Did you not have a student loan and see a HMV sale that you wanted to? But yeah, that scene where there's a preempt to her talking to him through the screen, which even when they do the full scene, the full conversation for real, it still fits. So both sections still fit into the dialogue. It's so well done.
Yeah, and it's played brilliantly as well, isn't it? Because when that whole moment fits together, because we've got to remember that through the episode up until this point, we've been seeing these little bits, haven't we, of this whole conversation with the Doctor, and even we're thinking as viewers, there's more to this. What's going on? And I just think it's amazing that at that point, in the wrong location, let's talk about that as well, because she's back in the house. So in the wrong location, she sits down and she watches this thing, and she's surrounded by these statues. She's like, hang on, why didn't you do it in the shop? Why have you done it there? Oh no, it's brilliant.
But there's that great bit where she's walking through the shop, and the other guy is watching a film or whatever, and he's screaming, "Why don't they just go to the police?"
Yeah,
because that's one thing that
you can see the penny drop there.
It's like, oh yeah, of course, I'll just go to the police, and that doesn't really work out either. But it's really challenging all the horror elements and put in things that make sense in a Doctor Who context.
Yeah. Let's talk about the horror element in this as well, because this isn't horror as we would know it. This is really sort of very much like a British horror, more like what we were talking about when it came to the Hammer horror side. All the elements are there in place. Is there a favourite element that you guys have got, which you can actually say, yeah, this is the bit that I knew this was a scary episode?
Probably the first time Kathy. You hear Kathy, yeah, when she gets stabbed, Nightingale goes back to Hull, and you realise what's going on with this when you first see it as well, and then how the strength of the angels when they're holding on to the TARDIS key.
Oh.
She's got to yank it as well. You're like, ooh. Because statues aren't supposed to be strong.
Yeah, and they're not supposed to have the key, are they?
No. What's going on here?
Yeah, actually, that's a really good point, because it's that. Yeah, I hadn't thought about this. You know, obviously, you notice that the key's being held by the angel, but she is holding on to it really, really strongly. But that's you just made me think. How did they get that? Oh, there's another story here. We need a prequel. What about you guys?
But then they release the key because they need Sally to show them where the box is, I think. Because they're trying to get the blue box, and they can't get it, and having the key, they can get into it. But there's pointless having the key if you don't know where the box is. So, yeah, I don't quite know how that gets to that point. But I assume if they've zapped back the Doctor and Martha, they've done it at a point where he's holding the key or something, and he's dropped it, or I don't know, something like that.
True.
But yeah, I mean, going back to your question, JT, about the horror element, for me, it's the villain suddenly appearing. You know, modern horror films are all about the flaming jump scare. That's all horror is now. It's just jump scares.
Yes,
and this is Doctor Who doing jump scares, but it works in the context of your villain because you turn your head and they can move, and you turn back and they're right there behind you.
It's an elegant jump scare. Nowadays, it's just cheap and quick and easy to make you scared, but it's an elegant one.
Yeah, quiet, scary nun, quiet, scary nun.
Yeah, I like that idea. Like I said, it's just an unexpected. It's one frame here, then the next frame is bang in your face, and and it's just that shock thing that's all of a sudden it's there, and then it's not, and then it's there, and it gets closer and closer and closer. So yeah, that's what I like about it.
Yeah.
Great answers. I love all of that. I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying with all of that. You know, I just love the tension. And I actually quite like the fact somebody mentioned it in the chat earlier. I was trying to find it there. I can't see it because everybody's chatting, which is brilliant. Keep it coming. But the thing moves so quickly. Somebody mentioned the music. Now, the music from Murray Gold actually does add to the presence of these monsters here, doesn't it? And it builds from that sort of gentle rhythm, if you like, to that whole screeching panic type of really fulfilled sense of music here. I just love the music on this one as well. Pete's also saying here, it's the non-movement of the angels, not an advancing monster. It's creepily, so nicely shot and edited. Yeah, true. Daniel's saying the angels are in the top 2 most scary monsters for me from the reboot. And the gas mask folk gave them the chills as well. Yeah, we mentioned them on the Horrific Who.
Yeah.
Garbage is saying this episode shows what a scary episode can be. Chibnall showed us what a scary Doctor Who episode should be. Oh, well, controversial. And Gary's saying, I love it, it's the Gorgon reimagined for the 21st century.
Yeah.
It is actually, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's funny because there's within the house, there's a mirror that Sally can look at from the room to see the front door or whatever.
Yeah.
So the reflective kind of element. You've got that hint there of the Gorgon. They don't pick it up though. It's a shame.
It is all about this. The angels are magnificent, and I get what everybody was saying there earlier about they should have been one off, but they were such a hit, especially with young people. I can understand why they brought them back later on, but in this story, had this been just their one and only appearance, I think that would have been them like the Zygons for my generation. They would have had that whole mystery built around them. They would have, would have been absolutely epic. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah, I think how they were introduced, it was the shock element. I think throughout the episode, as it kept, getting to the crescendo, but now with post that episode, we have them inserted through who a lot more, and so there, I think the fright factor and the scare factor is diminished, and it's not as much of a take as what it was initially. But that's like any monster, I guess, that gets introduced in the first time, the first episode of the Daleks, or like I said, the Zygons. But once you start playing with those characters a little more and they're exposed a little bit more, they've got to come up with a bit more of a story, I guess, for them, or try to do something different. And so the more you open the doors for that character, the more it's exposed. So therefore the mystery element of that character starts to be exposed a lot more, I guess. My thoughts.
I loved the Angels Take Manhattan. I was quite happy to carry it on.
Well, we'll have to do a sequel, won't we, where we review that one, Kirsty? So, I mean, from your point of view, because you were young when Blink came out, and you were obviously you were scared of these things. They got you. Yeah. They got scared. So when you heard they were coming back at that slightly older age, there, you were sort of like, yes, this is going to be great.
Yeah. Even still, I was at the exhibition at the start of the year, and it was hilarious going past them and just being like, you just automatically go when you see them. But yeah, I really enjoyed the Angels with Matt and his tenure, and having, I utterly love the Angels of Manhattan. It's heartbreaking, it's haunting, it's, adding the Angels to it is just a perfect mix as well. And then I was saying in the WHOTASTIC stream on Thursday, with the first time you meet him with Matt, with River as well, it's just, again, it's a perfect combination. And that they're winding him up and he's starting to get angry. And that adds to the element as well. So it's nice. I like it as well with certain monsters. It's nice to see it with reincarnations of different Doctors to see how they behave with the characters.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, they certainly build on it, don't they, Bedweer, from what we learn about them in Blink. Blink, in hindsight, rewatching it again as we've done for this show, I suddenly realised that without knowing it, Blink is the setup for what comes much later on.
Yeah, I think the genius of Blink is the resolution, and the fact that the Angels, the very nature of the Angels is turned against them, and they end up seeing each other, and that's it. That's the adventure over. They were absolutely so popular that you had to bring them back, and it's a challenge then to try and do something different and not lose sight of the elements that you'd put in place. So when they, Time of the Angels and whatever, when you are seeing them move in the forest and whatever, it is kind of weird because you're thinking, no, surely some of the other ones, they can all see each other. Why? How are they moving?
No, that's a good point.
And you start thinking of that. And I agree that Angels Take Manhattan is great because I love the idea of this sort of, was it a battery, a factory of them just churning out energy for them to feed off. And when you're in New York, you've got to do the Statue of Liberty. It doesn't make any sense in plot terms. It's completely impossible because, it's the Statue of Liberty. Someone in New York is going to notice that movie.
That's interesting because this is all stuff that we couldn't see coming along here, but yet in Blink, just to bring us back to Blink, in Blink, it gives you that aspect. I mean, somebody was mentioning in the chat there's that lovely scene where Sally, back in the rain, she looks out of the window at the police station and she sees two weeping angels, as we now know them, are outside. Then it zooms in on her and she blinks. And what happens? They disappear. But she doubts herself as humans would do. Isn't that right, Mark? She sort of doubts herself. I couldn't have seen that there.
Yeah.
So we're starting to realize here that there is an element to this because the camera then comes out again and they're on her side. And you get that lovely sort of creepy more or less psycho-ish type music, that screechy music that really gets me, whatever it's in, to suggest
It's the suspense.
Yeah.
It's a stunning shot.
Yeah, it's very clever, very easily done as well. But when you think about it, but I mean, let's talk. Yeti's direction in this episode is superb, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, aye.
Yeah.
Can't fault it.
Yeah. We've got this. I want to talk about. Gary's mentioned here. Here it is. You can't reason with stone. So more emotionless than the Cybermen. Well, the fact is, in this story, of course, they're just complete stone. They don't even talk to you. They just look at you with those horrible, horrible eyes, and they might yell at you occasionally. Yeah, in a sort of horrible way, like that. Let's talk about the resolution. I mean, you mentioned it there, Bidwia. Here they are. They're trying to get... Now, this scene, again, is directed beautifully because they point at the light bulb, and then you feel the panic that Sally and Larry have as they suddenly realize they're going to be plunged into darkness. Now, again, bringing us back to where we are today, that's horrific. I think that's horrific.
It's that other element. You've established that if you can't see them, they can move. Okay, so you keep your eyes on them and you don't blink. Oh, hang on, but what if it goes completely dark? It's just another element to how scary these things can be. It's brilliantly done. And yeah, you can see the box moving from side to side as the lights go out, but the windows.
I love that.
Yeah,
it must have taken ages to set it up and to pivot it and what have you there, but it works really, really well, doesn't it?
Oh, it does.
Yeah, it's the fear of the unknown and what you can't see.
Yeah, and it's just that drama because the lights blinky, 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 just like you've been told not to. And it's like blinky, blinky, blinky. Oh man, it gets you really going, isn't it? You're on the edge of your seat, like good old fashioned Doctor Who at this point. You go, and it's not the Doctor, so you know for a fact these two might not get out of this.
Well, fear of the dark is another horror element. It's we were talking about the rain earlier. It's that English GCSE, the pathetic fallacy of when you're reading Frankenstein and the weather reflects what's going on and all that crap. But it's that whole genre and it's playing on these elements. Yeah.
No, it brings everything out for you, doesn't it? And as I say, it must have been wonderful to be young. I mean, a young person here and getting these thrills of excitement and danger and scariness, just like we would have done. My generation would have done seeing the Daleks or the Zygons or whatever it was, Morbius back in the day. You do get the drama coming through, don't you, Kirsty?
Oh yeah. That I can tell you where I was and what I was doing the first time I was going to meet a certain monster, and getting hyped up and getting told stories about the first time they were broadcast and whatnot as well. So for me, seeing the angels and seeing them again and again, it is the nice thing to go back to that sort of, like the first time I saw them and see what's going to happen next from it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just wonderful, and it's great seeing it again as an adult. Just putting the ones that I grew up with on from time to time, and actually just seeing it again and catching more than what I would have. So there's some stuff that would just gone right over my head, and noticing more different tones and just actual what they're talking about. It is brilliant. And it's just the magic of it. I love it.
When you were a kid, certain things. What did you notice watching it now? And those examples that you're saying went over your head.
I just saw it more the first time as just the scare factor, but looking more into how you actually get zapped back into different times as well, and more of the details and how actually I lived a good life, or when he was in the hospital, like I thought of you from time to time. I married a girl called Sally, and just more heartfelt stuff like that. And that I would have been, all right, that's just normal dialogue, but actually just paying more attention to that and the soft and just details of just life and how it is the fear of the unknown, but also they tug at the heartstrings as well and tug at human interactions and just daily things. So just seeing that again, it's been really, really good.
Oh, that's good. I like that. So that's lovely. Thank you. Garbage is saying here as well. The strobe effect and the moving, shaking TARDIS, absolutely incredible. Words don't do it justice. You're right, because we tried. Right, though, isn't it? You just can't really, because it was such a clever scene and set up brilliantly. And it's actually very, very, it is scary because, as we say, we've got these things, we've got these 4 angels going for this, and this is where they're proving that these things are terrifying, they're dangerous, and they are absolutely going to get you one way or another. These things are going to get you can't escape them. But it's also magically done because for the first time we really see this element where the interior of the TARDIS is blended with the outside of the TARDIS. So for a minute the angels are in the console room threatening our heroes here, and then the next minute they're not, because the police box has gone. I don't know about you guys, but I was actually quite worried at this point, thinking, why has TARDIS taken them with them? What is she doing? You know, she's just left them there, possibly to die. But obviously, it's part of the story. But
I just remember going,
how does that happen? That's never happened before. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that was
that
a
big
shock.
kind of.
Yeah. I thought they're going, and then all of a sudden they're left behind. It's like, what?
Yeah,
it's a shock moment.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing about it now is that we now do know that that was obviously predetermined by the Doctor through the DVD when it's all put there, because obviously the TARDIS must turn up without Sally and in it. So he must realise that. Hang on a minute. I'm getting a headache.
Yeah.
It's
that timey-wimey again.
You know
It's timey-wimey stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's quite. It's determined. I mean, that whole thing as well. We'd seen the hologram effects in the TARDIS before, hadn't we? But to have it to crop up in this episode as well, where suddenly you realise that there's protocols in the TARDIS. You know, it's detected whatever, and therefore this has to do. Please prepare for departure. So she'd be so proud, Tegan, at that moment, wouldn't she? You know, lovely, absolutely lovely. If you could, if I ask you all, which I'm going to do, for a favourite scene, what would it be, Bedouin?
Oh, I think the scene with old Billy and Sally in the hospital is so beautifully subtle in its tragedy. That stands out a mile for me. It's obviously I love all the scary stuff with the angels and all that sort of stuff, but in terms of two people interacting and this whole idea that Billy's kind of just been holding on to get to this point.
Yeah, because he knows he's going to die, doesn't he?
Well, I think that's the only thing that's kept him going, and once he's had that scene,
he dies.
He lets it all go, and it's so tragic.
Doesn't he say that wonderful line, "I have until the rain stops"?
Yeah.
And again, like, you know, let's not pick it apart.
But dear, I've got the scanner on. Don't make me cry.
Yeah, but I think that is just so beautifully played. It's just two actors in a room, and it's incredible.
I tell you, sometimes, Bedouin, that's all you need. Two talents playing a lovely script and understanding it, and they prove that point beautifully. Mark, if I had to say to you, which I'm going to, what was your favourite scene in Blink? What would it be?
Well, I'm going to go to the technical aspect. I really liked, as I said before, that idea about the Easter egg and how it all come to fruition in the end, and just watching it unfold and watching their response. And, you know, that moment of, hey, what's going on here? Didn't I say that? And then he starts answering, and then it all starts to come together. I just think that whole little story of how he's deciphering or trying to come up with this Easter egg and what's going on. And, you know, he's got all these DVDs and he's got this list and and then all of a sudden they're sitting in there and it all starts to piece together. And it's like, I just like how those little things come together. So that's probably my favourite part.
And the same question for you, Kirst.
I would actually, after Billy's just passed and you just see her in the ward room, and it's quite like she's actually darkly lit and she's looking at the rain, but you can see that she's got the thing she's trying to piece things together.
Yeah.
And from there, the beautiful Marigold, I'm so happy he's back. You can just see that things are clicking, and then the big hit of the music, and you know, right, something's going to happen now. Things are going to get pieced together. There's going to be some resolution from it.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
It's the way she sort of strides forward towards the camera. It's
Yeah.
really Torchwoody kind of.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, because she's got her long flowing coat and whatever. It's a bit, Captain Jack and Gwen in Torchwood. Just right.
Yeah.
I've had my moment. Now I'm going to sort stuff out.
She's absolutely a fantastic lead for this episode. Wonderful character, superb actress, totally able to carry this. She's proved full over that these characters and herself are just great. I mean, it just works well. Somebody in the chat earlier asked us about the house and where it was. I think it might have been TARDIS Spider. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know, but I'll just let you know the abandoned house was the Fields House or Fields Manor on Fields Park Road in Newport in South Wales. Now, since this was filmed, I could go on.
Yeah. So my sister actually used to work for the guy who bought this house. And I think he's since sold it and moved on and whatever. But at the time, it was obviously quite dilapidated and whatever. But they renovated it, and it was used for the episode Knock Knock.
Yes.
In the Peter Capaldi era. And they also shot bits of Sherlock in there with... I've forgotten the character's name.
Benedict.
Benedict.
No, the is it Irene? Oh,
yeah, Amanda Appleton.
No, not her.
Well, I've got some pictures
first
here.
episode in like the third series. Anyway, and it had that really funky wallpaper and all that sort of stuff, and yeah.
Well, have a look at this because I went looking for an update, and here it is. This is the house today, which you may actually recognise from the Peter Capaldi episode. Now you wouldn't be able to tell, but it's been. I mean, let's have a look inside, shall we? Ta-da! Isn't it fabulous?
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean that bit there, the bottom right-hand corner, you can see it. That's where you can see it, because that's where the angel was. I would love to know if they have one in the house. If they haven't, they should do, just to finish it off. But that's the house there.
Stephen Moffat's got one in his house. I'm sure I read an interview.
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
Well, it's not. I can show you. There it is.
Hey.
Yeah, there he is with his angel.
You can buy them. You can buy replicas.
You can. If you're that brave, you can buy them. Let's have a look at the chat. What we've got here coming up here. Let's have a look. Oh gosh, Garbage was saying the angels have the blue box. Absolutely. He also says that it was pure luck. They all looked at each other. I suppose if you're around a box, yes. I mean, absolutely.
Yeah. Knowing there's four of them and on different sides. Yeah.
That we'll put that down to timey-wimey. Gary's saying the angels are this generation of children's version of how the Auton shop window dummies were to 70s kids. Totally. Yeah. Totally is. Absolutely is.
Having worked to the Doctor Who experience, there was nothing that terrified children more than going through the Weeping Angel section. We had more calls to get children out of the Weeping Angel forest than when they were in the Dalek spaceship or anywhere. It was always the Weeping Angels.
To get the kids physically out.
Oh yeah, you had to show them to the side door and walk them around, and we had to go and rescue children. There was one occasion where a child was so scared he vomited in the face of one of my colleagues. It was
Oh.
The funny thing is, there was only two angels in there, and they were the stone. There was no actors or anything. They were just stone angels. But it was the combination of the lighting, the sound effect, sound effect,
and also because what the story had done, the kids knew what could happen. They are generally quite scary, but it's also like at one of the proms when they make that hint that the angels are coming. The entire audience at the Albert Hall go, even the adults are going, oh. I love that. It's building up that suspense. We are coming to scores on the TARDIS door in a minute, everybody. Yes, we've got all that there. I've got a question here for you from Garbage. Is Bedouin wearing a T-shirt?
It is a T-shirt. Yeah. Yep.
It absolutely is. So get ready with the scores on the TARDIS doors. But before that, we've got a message from Teddy.
Watch whose views or you will be eradicated.
Fab.
Isn't that great? Thanks very much, Teddy, for sending us those. I'm going to be using those a lot, I have to say. They're going to be appearing every now and then throughout the Diamond Anniversary month. So thanks for that. Yeah, and now everybody get ready because it's time for... Oh! These graphics sometimes have a mind of their own. Right, so scores on the TARDIS doors. We'll start with you, Bedouin. Out of 10, what are you going to give Blink?
I'm going to give it a 9. I'm going to deduct 1 mark because it doesn't have enough of the Doctor in it. But other than that, it's perfect.
Brilliant. Kirsty?
9 as well.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Why are you giving it a 9?
I loved it. I loved seeing it again. I don't know. I have a soft spot for Angels of Take Manhattan. That's my 10 out of 10 for an Angels episode. 9 is...
She's ruined it for when we do that episode now then, hasn't she? Kevin safe.
Blink is still... It's chef's kiss. But just... I think from growing up with the reboot Who, that one, Angels Take Manhattan, has my heart. But still, I can't fault this one.
Fair enough. Mark, our visitor from Australia who's on his British tour, what are you going to give it out of 10?
I'm going to give it 8. Purely because, as Bedouin said, it's a little bit Doctor Light for me. But the principle of it is really good, how it was all done, really well shot, really well portrayed. But as I said, it would have been nice to have the Doctor in it a little bit more, considering he's Doctor Who.
Yeah, I consider it Doctor Who. Thank you very much, panel. I'm going to give it a 10 because I love it. I can watch it, and I watched it recently for this and just enjoyed every single minute. And I have to say that due to the writing, the direction, and the performance of everybody, but especially to Carey, I didn't actually notice the Doctor wasn't there until much later. And I think that's the beauty of this. You know, it's like just one long setup when the TARDIS would arrive, but not. And I still felt his presence through it. So I'm going to give it a 10. This Garbage is saying it was a 10. Like Vincent turned left in the finale of season 4. TARDIS Spider is saying 9 out of 10. No perfect stories, but so close. And Gary's saying 9 blinks and 1 wink. So that'll be a 10 then, Gary.
9.5.
He hedges his bets every now and then, doesn't he? I love it. Right, so that's us. Thank you so much for that. Have we got another comment there? Hang on a sec. What was this one coming through? Ooh, Scottish Davros here. Daniel is saying 9.5. I slightly prefer Flesh and Stone. Well, make sure you come back when we actually review that one. And we'll talk about that one because that's going to happen at some point in the future. Right, so listen to the panel. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed that. Thank you all for watching as well. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It's Halloween or Wholloween this evening, which means that tomorrow, of course, November starts. And it's the big Diamond Anniversary month. 60 years of a Time Lord. And we're going to be here all the way through November with some, I hope, some cracking content that you're going to love. So do join us, subscribe, ring that bell so you get notifications of all the shows that we've got planned for you with the Whotastic panel and myself. I want to say thank you to Beware, thank you to Kirsty, and a huge thank you for Mark for joining us live from where he's staying in, where is it again? Say it for me again, Bedouin.
Llangollen.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm glad you said it, not me.
You're staying there as well.
That's right.
We will see you again very shortly, everybody, on Who's Views. Do join us through the month, the anniversary month. Until we see you again. Say good night, everybody. Thank you, everyone. Have a great Halloween, everybody. Thank you for joining us on the 3 shows.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Bye. Bye.